Hello and welcome to another episode of the Expanse Abridged Podcast series. Today I've got chapter 49, which is a Holden chapter of the first book in the series, Leviathan Wakes. So the last time we saw Holden, he was floating around Eros. Miller's obviously gone down, dropped some bombs, ready to blow it up, so no one else can go on it. But he's kind of hovering around the Rocinante, keeping an eye on Miller, making sure no one else gets near. He was scaring off some UNN corvettes. That's kind of the last we saw from him. Then previous chapter, Miller went down with all the Belter boys, a bunch of 15-year-olds, strapped some bombs to the side of Eros, and then they all left. Miller stayed because he's old, he's tired, he's done with people, and he wants to kill himself and spend some time with Julie. Then the Nauvoo comes in, and just before the Nauvoo hits, Eros, the planet, which is full of zombies, goes, "Don't fucking touch me," and then just skips to the left, just takes a little sidestep, and it misses. And now in the immediate response from Holden, in Holden's chapter is, "Holy shit," said Amos in a flat voice. And he repeats this about 5 times throughout the chapter. And it's a radar and scopes are both saying Eros jumped 200 kilometers spinward in less than a minute. So the entire asteroid has just hopped slightly to the left. "Holy shit," Amos repeated in exactly the same emotionless tone. And Holden's immediate reaction is, "I need to make sure people aren't hallucinating." And he's getting irritated with Naomi and Amos, who keep us going, "Holy shit, that doesn't make any sense." Whilst Alex and Holden, who are both ex-military, have military training, and the idea is that they're a bit more relaxed or calm. So he's like, "Naomi, give me the comms," because he wants to ask people. And Naomi just turns to her face ashen. "How can you be so calm?" "Holy shit," Amos said. "I don't remember ordering you to leave your post, sailor," Holden said. He gets even more frustrated. And Amos and Naomi start speaking about it, and they say Eros. Amos is also fucking big, to be fair, but Eros is really fucking big. Naomi's trying to keep repeating "plan intelligently," which is what Holden suggested. But they talk about how much energy it required to spin it up. So it took years and years just to get the asteroid spinning. So obviously, with all these space stations in the belt, they get them spinning because you have gravity on the inside. And that's they've talked about, like Tycho Station. The whole reason the belt has all this space power is because it took years and years to kind of develop the infrastructure to even start spinning an asteroid. So to move one is just insane, is the idea. And Eros has not only just hopped to the left, it's not changing velocity, it's just floating through space like normal. And Holden says, "Amos and Naomi are vapor locked. How are you doing? Not taking my hands off the stick." Thank God for military training, Holden thought. So Alex is just holding a spaceship in the air and being chill. And then Holden is getting more and more irritated with Naomi and Amos. Amos is staring at the ceiling, counting things on his fingers, going... Naomi goes, the planet's about 7,000 trillion kilos, and it's all heated up by 2 degrees. And they can't even do the maths in their head about the amount of energy it would take to do that. Naomi goes, "It's about 100 kilos converted directly into energy, which of course we couldn't do, but at least whatever they did wasn't magic." Holden's mind grabbed onto her words with an almost physical sensation. Naomi was, in fact, about the smartest person he knew. She had just spoken directly to the half-articulated fear he'd been harbouring since Eros had jumped sideways, that this was magic, that the protomolecule didn't have to obey the laws of physics, because if that was true, humans didn't stand a chance. So they've been doing all the maths in their head, and so that it's hopped a bit to the left, it's got 2 degrees warmer, which means it's done some form of science. And science is cool, but also science is real. So if it was magic, they'd all be fucked, and it would be in a fantasy novel, but as we know, we found this book in the sci-fi section, so it wouldn't be that. And she goes, basically they're like, it's definitely science, they've done something normal, and it's not perfect because the heat would be kind of waste energy. So there's still entropy, there's still kind of inefficiencies, they are constrained by operating in the real world. So it's not like there's an old adage where technology advanced enough is just synonymous to magic. So if you met a civilization that had incredibly advanced technology, they could manipulate stuff, it may as well be magic to someone like us. But this is saying, even if that is true, they still have constraints about energy and efficiency and various things, which is fun. So anyway, they're like, this is a heat byproduct, so we know they're doing something like that. And Alex interjects saying that they're moving again. So obviously they haven't actually stayed still in space, because the Expanse operates on all the G's. So people talk about the acceleration as the thing that matters. So they weren't changing velocity, but they're still moving through space towards, we know they're moving spinward, which is towards the inner planets. So Holden's like, "Yep, keep us following. Amos, get down to the engine room. If you leave it again without a direct order, I'll have the XO beat you to death with a pipe wrench." The only reply was the hiss of the deck hatch opening and the bang as it closed. "Sunward is all we know for sure," Alex said, his voice still calm and professional. We know Holden was going to be an officer in the military, and he knows how the military training pilots go through. Separates his brain into 2 compartments, piloting problems and secondarily everything else. So the asteroid's moving again, so they start moving with it towards the inners, and it's accelerating is the main issue. So getting faster and faster. And obviously, that's terrifying because the idea of moving an asteroid requires so much energy, but given it's just kind of hops sideways, it's kind of realistic, or at least understandable. And then as they're following it closer and closer, like moving towards kind of spinward, it disappears off the radar. Holden felt his throat go tight. Say again? Eros has disappeared off the radar, Alex was saying. His telescopes showed the rock was still moving on its new course towards the sun. Thermal imaging showed it was a slightly warmer than space pit of area. The weird feed of voices and madness that had been leaking out of the station was still detectable, if faint, but radar said there was nothing there. Eros had shown that it could move fast and manoeuvre wildly, and that it was now invisible to radar. It was entirely possible that a mountain-sized rock could disappear completely. So it's basically its abilities are increasing in the space of like 4 pages about what it can do, and the crew is having to react incredibly quickly to being like, okay, that's fun. It can do new shit now. So Holden is trying to get back to just doing some form of plan. He asked Naomi for the comm again, so he's been asking since the start of the chapter to get the communications for him. And the chagrin on her face was the most reassuring thing he'd seen in hours. So he rings up the Corvette that was nearby. So we had the Corvette with the science ship that was nearby that Holden scared off earlier. And he rings up and says, you guys see the same thing? They go, roger that. After some quite big delays. And he says, right, do you want to come with us? We're going to try and follow it for a bit. And there's a delay for almost 2 minutes long. And then a different voice came on the line. Older, female, and totally lacking the arrogance and anger of the young male officer he'd been dealing with so far. Rocinante, this is Captain McBride of the UNN escort vessel Ravi. So we learned that the prick he'd been dealing with for a while was like the typical junior officer. And now the senior female officers come in and like, right, we'll sort this out. So they said, like, right, let's come through, let's go together, we'll just follow it and gather some intel. Obviously they don't trust each other because they had threatened to shoot each other. But Holden explains that he's got his family in Montana. So we learned a few chapters ago, he's got his 8 parents or whatever it is in a farm in Montana, like a ranch. And he's like, look, this thing's going that way. I like my parents, come with, I promise I won't shoot you. And they kind of go, yeah, fine, we'll keep an eye on you. Then he rings Tycho. So typical Holden energy is something happens, so he starts talking to everybody. So he rings Tycho. And as this is happening, he's getting pushed further and further back in his chair because the spaceship's accelerating forward. So he rings Big Boy Fred. And as he's doing so, he's with the spaceship getting faster and faster, he realises he doesn't have a plan. So the brief hope he'd felt was already starting to slip away. How can you be so calm? I think I'm watching the end of the human race, Holden thought. I'm calling Fred so that it isn't my fault when no one has an idea how to stop it. Of course I'm not calm, I'm just spreading the guilt. So it's an interesting way that of Holden kind of articulating his actions, because he's spreading the guilt and like involving more people, and because he doesn't know what to do, so he's going to get more and more people. So you kind of don't, it's like a typical human response where if you don't know what to do, you grab more people and then everyone doesn't know what to do, and you can blame kind of an institution or like a lack of failure from many people rather than just yourself. It's also interesting because like this is kind of the right thing to do. Like if you don't know what to do, you just ask more people. So it's that Holden's kind of the guilt or his internal monologue is like was also the best thing to do, which makes Holden a good character. So anyway, Fred's just like, how fast is it fucking going? It's 4Gs, it's going faster and faster. So we've got like 4 gravities, effectively. So they're being pushed back in the seats. It's already hard to speak for the crew of the Rocinante, and presumably the UNN ship. They don't have a plan, because obviously the Nauvoo is missed. So the Nauvoo is going stupidly quickly and will be flying through the universe some other direction. So they've got to try and get that back. And this is going faster and faster. They're thinking it's probably going to Earth. There's 30 billion people there. Because obviously it's in the future, so a lot of people live there. That's where he would go. That's where the new hosts are for the vomit zombies. And you have to warn them. That's what Holden says. You think they don't know? Says Fred. They see a threat, said Holden. They may not see the end of all native life in the solar system. So obviously it's mainly the belt at this point in the chapter know how bad it is in terms of the vomit zombies, etc. It could kill everybody rather than just like an asteroid impact. Fred says, I'll see what I can do. What are you going to do in the meantime? Get outrun by a rock and then watch the cradle of humanity die, Holden thought. I'm open to suggestions, he said. And they kind of develop a quick plan to throw some... all the nuclear bombs they put on the side, which Miller and the boys had done in the previous chapter. If you detonate them on one side, it'll kind of shift the asteroid off target and at least buy them more time to figure something out. Maybe get the Nauvoo around for another go. The Miller has the codes to remote detonate, or someone on the security team does. And as they're doing this, the juice kicks in, they're getting faster and faster. They're already at 4Gs, and even on the juice, they couldn't sustain prolonged acceleration past 7 or 8 without serious risks. So they ring up Miller. Our boy's back again. It's like, Miller, this is Holden, we need to talk about what happened. Eros just moved, said Miller. Miller sounded strange, his voice distant. He says, look, we've got the codes, we're going to set them off on one side, give me those codes. Yep, that sounds like a good idea, Miller said, holding back a laugh, or sounding like he's holding back a laugh, but I can't really help you with the text, because Miller was asking for information, Holden was asking information from them. Shit, Miller, you pissed off those people too? Miller did laugh now, a free, soft sound that someone who wasn't piling on G could afford. If there was a punchline, Holden had missed it. Yeah, Miller said, probably, but that's not why I can't get them for you. I'm not on the ship with them. What? I'm still on Eros. Chapter ends. And as a little treat, the next line is, what do you mean you're on Eros? Holden said in Miller's chapter. So yeah, fun little chapter that. It's nice I like seeing all the characters in a stressful situation, and you see Amos and Naomi, without the military training and acting more like belters, they immediately try and solve a science problem, and they're trying to understand it, but there is like a bit of a pause versus the military people like Holden and Alex. I mean, it's a bit contrived, whatever, but it's just fun seeing them immediately go to like planning and action, which I think is particularly good with Holden, where you just see like why he's quite a good leader. He's like trying to involve team, he's telling people what to do, wanting people to do certain things, and even if there is a big alien, his immediate reaction is, I need my engineer in the engineering deck, I need my piloting, etc. It's a fun one, that, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Otherwise, I will see you next week, and cheers for all the feedback as well on the podcast. Keep throwing it in on the Spotify chats and wherever you get them. I always do appreciate it.